What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today, we're talking about this.
We're filming. I'm just shocked. The whole thing is just like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this development is one of the biggest, if true, it's the biggest, most significant development in the history of the phenomenon, because I challenge anyone out there to show me testimony from anyone, particularly a neurosurgeon.
An active neurosurgeon, not retired.
Not retired, who's putting his entire career on the line to say, I had face-to-face contact, telepathic communication for 3 to 4 minutes with an alien in captivity. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't think of another case. This is a first.
All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, y'all. All right, so what's today's video about? Well, you kind of just saw the intro there. It is about the new documentary. Okay, I know we keep talking about this, but some new stuff has come out, and I just think it's fair to talk about all of this because Chris Ramsey just interviewed James Fox, so we're going to be talking about his brand new film, Moment of Contact. Okay, it's sort of the second Moment of Contact that just came out. All right. And I saw it. I rented it. I paid the money and I rented the film. I'm going to put links down below in the description to watch the film. I'm in Europe. I tried to watch it on Amazon Prime and rent it there, and I couldn't. It wasn't available here in Spain where I'm at. So I put a link down to the Apple link that I used to rent it, and I was able to rent it there. So depending on where you are in the world, use one of those two links and support this film. I highly recommend that, okay? It was a great watch. I really enjoyed watching the film. So as I do this video, I'll kind of go through my review of the film as well. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to point out before we get to Chris Ramsey's interview with James Fox, which was amazing, and again, I'll put a link down below for this full interview, because there's way more in the interview that I cover, that I can cover in this video. But James Fox put out a press release, which he had hinted about before, and I covered it in another video. And here it is. I'm calling on all of you out there to help spread this event far and wide. Pretty please. This is the biggest grassroots effort in the history of my career. Please help spread this far and wide. And then he puts a link to his press release, at least the first page, because he stated this down below in the same tweet. I will post the rest of the press release just as soon as I can figure out how to get all the pages on here. It will happen later today, but just know there's a big event at the National Press Club, January 20th at 11 a.m. And so he didn't put the rest of those pages, which is fine, but people definitely have questions. Is he going to live stream it? Is this, that, who are these UFO insiders? And you may be wondering, what are you talking about, Patrick? Well, okay, here's the press release right here so you can kind of see. And I'll put a link to it so you can go check it out for yourself. James Fox hosts UFO press conference in Washington, D.C. with witnesses, experts, and members of Congress. Where? The National Press Club. When? January 20th, 2026, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Brazilian first-hand witnesses of a crashed UFO and live non-human beings. And then from 2 to 3 p.m., American insiders on crash retrievals, biologics, call for immunity for whistleblowers. So this is interesting. It seems to be like a two-parter here. I don't know what insiders means, but definitely people will wonder about that. But again, I'll put a link down below to this if you want to check out the rest of the press release. And if you want to go to DC January 20th to check this out. Now, let's get to this interview.
You, sir, have just released the next phase of Moment of Contact by the time this airs.
Yes.
And which is, for me, possibly the most convincing case of not only crash retrieval, but of being interaction that I've ever heard. It is, I will say with confidence, I'm not one to sling around, I believe or I don't believe. I am at as near 100% conviction that this is true as I can possibly be, especially after this latest iteration. And it is an update to the previous Moment of Contact. What's the full title?
It's Moment of Contact and then : new revelations of alien encounters.
Yeah. unbelievable, unprecedented interviews with, for anyone out there thinking, it's just some townsfolk and a farmer and no. And by the way, I believe farmers too.
Yeah, of course.
No slight to farmers. Exactly. I actually believe them a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
But we're talking pathologists. We're talking neurosurgeons who are head of multiple hospitals. We're talking police chiefs. We're talking really the most credible people that a community could produce.
Absolutely.
And all of this happened almost exactly 30 years ago.
And look, again, I saw the film, I rented it. I will say, it does cover a lot of the same stuff that was in the original Moment of Contact, but there is a lot of new stuff in it. And, it had been so long since I had seen Moment of Contact that it was kind of refreshing to see it all again, right? And, I gotta be honest, this is a very compelling case. Right? It's not like there's just rides on one witness or one person telling their story and you're like, no one's there to back them up. You know what I'm saying? This is like a whole town. There's people all over the town talking about this. Like, it is super compelling. And even if you're like skeptical about one part, right, which there are some red flags still in the case, it's just there's so much. There's so many people who seem very genuine. Right? James goes and interviews these people. I swear, a lot of these people just seem so genuine in what they're saying, right? It's kind of hard not to take this seriously, right? And there's just so many different elements that involve, people down to just your average citizen up to some of the highest levels of government involved with this. It's like something happened. Okay, if you don't think aliens have whatever, but to just be like, no, nothing happened. Something happened. I don't know what, James makes a very compelling case in the film that it's these aliens and all this. And I have to admit, this is very compelling case. And there's just a lot of genuine people and there's so many moving parts. It's like, again, even if you're just skeptical about one thing, how do you explain the other stuff, right? Like there's so much to this case and, They may be onto something. There's something, quite compelling about this. Now, I have been skeptical of this new neurosurgeon who's come out, and really just because he changed his story, right? Because that's a new part of this documentary that wasn't part of Moment of Contact before. But we'll get to that more in this video, right? But let's move on.
Yeah, it's the military man X who ends up seeing the alien in a box when he goes to the hospital, and that was just such an amazing interview at the end of the first part of this. After this is when we hear about in the documentary the USAF, United States Air Force. Yeah.
USAF.
Yeah.
USAF. I kept thinking, USAF. What's this guy talking about? USAF.
Yeah.
USAF.
Landing.
Yeah.
That is a big, big deal.
So all the airplanes coming into a particular area, according if they come from outside Brazil, have to have Brazilian government
clearance.
Authorization to land. And this plane was coming and didn't have that authorization. And according to, I guess you call them like flight control officers, radar? What do you call it? What's the name of the people that monitor all incoming flights?
Yeah.
In a particular country.
Radar operators or tower.
Flight control.
Sure.
Anyway, apparently, according to him, the plane was coming in and didn't
Radio control towers.
Plane was coming in, didn't have authorization. Some high-level Brazilian military official stepped in and said, let the plane land. It diverted. Apparently it was going to go into Sao Paulo, but it didn't. It went straight to Campinas. And we have testimony from Military X that he drove the trucks from Humanitas Hospital to Eza military base and then from Eza to Campinas. And so logically, something was loaded up on there. That would have been where the Americans stepped in. And now we have new
metal boxes,
whatever. I don't know how long the creature that was in captivity that was alive. We don't know how long it stayed alive.
Yeah.
Was it alive when the Americans took it? My understanding is it was. How long did it stay alive? We don't know yet. But yeah. And
okay.
more pieces of the puzzle are filling in because now we have testimony from the military actually drove the creature. Well, we've had that, but now we have testimony from the chief of police.
Yeah.
Not anonymous, putting his face and his name on camera.
It's a big deal.
He was like, yeah, I saw a creature under a tarp, something under a tarp, more brass than I've ever seen in the history of my career as a military base, helicopters landing, going, whole commotion. And he's like, yeah, the Americans came to Campinas. And that's when they took the stuff.
Which, as we find out a bit later, pissed off a lot of the local military.
Yeah.
And again, this is another compelling part to this case, right? Like, let's say, there's little girls that saw it, right? There's this guy that went to the field. There's this neurosurgeon. There's this, there's that. What about this guy that works at the airport or whatever he is? He's like a radio air traffic controller. And, the United States Air Force lands a plane and then takes off with something. I mean, again, there's just so many things that happen around this date. It's just like, what is going on, right? And that is a very compelling part, that the United States could have potentially, the Air Force specifically, sent in a plane to take away these beings, right? And potentially the crashed craft as well, right? Just basically remove all evidence from Brazil and take it. And then you got like, what gives them the authority? What gives the Americans the authority to come in and do that kind of stuff? Right? I wish Brazil would have just stuck up a little bit more. If that's true, if this is true, if that's what they took back, right? Like, you know what? No, you're not taking it. Want to make a big scene? No problem. We'll blow the whistle on all this, But as we saw what America did in Venezuela, maybe they're just like, we don't want to mess with the Americans. And, I guess I can understand that as well. But it is quite interesting. Maybe they had a deal set up with them, right? I don't know. Maybe it's like, hey, we have more beings. We have more stuff. Let us take it. I don't know. Who knows what the deal is? But the fact that the Air Force was involved in some way, potentially, right, of taking back some of these live beings and the crash craft, again, it is very compelling. In this interview with this military ex-guy that's in the film, again, he seems just very genuine in what he's saying. I'm not saying what he's saying is true. I'm just saying his testimony seemed very compelling and quite genuine, right?
You then, which I thought was just the coolest thing ever, you produced a Freedom of Information Act request.
Yeah.
To find a flight log of the CIA, or not of the CIA, of the United States Air Force.
Working with two different people, basically, there was a gentleman, hey, how can I help? I was like, hey, we want to file a FOIA request. Okay, let me know what information you want. I had this other gentleman anonymously reaching out to me, and he was so knowledgeable. He was like, you got to check here, you got to check that. There's going to be flight logs, and And we were going back and forth for a while, and I had a lot of incoming information. I mean, just processing after the Joe Rogan appearance for this case was a full-time job, just trying to, receive all the messages, process all the messages, try to get back to everybody. But there was one person in particular who was really knowledgeable. I mean, I was like, who are you? And he's like, actually, I'm a colonel in the United States Air Force. I was a former fighter pilot, and I had a very dramatic UFO encounter in 1980. I've been following your work. I'm following this case, and I want to help you find that flight. So I was like, oh, cool. So now I'm working with a colonel in the United States Air Force, retired, but still, like, he's amazing. Frederick Clausen, he's okay for me to talk about this. So anyway, so he's giving me guidance. There's another gentleman, which I consider one of our team guys, and he's like, hey, let's do this. What do you want me to say? And I was like, okay. All flights coming in from the United States, and I don't know what the span of time was. Maybe it was 10 days, maybe it was 2 weeks. I can't remember, but I wanted to make sure it was before the crash and up to 10 days or 8 days or a week after January 20th. So we just covered that whole window, but I didn't do too much. Nice block. All planes coming in. And so we filed that FOIA in 2021, 2022, probably 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. We get a response from the CIA.
From the CIA?
Yeah.
And what, pray tell, does the CIA tell you, to no surprise?
Well, like basically resorting back to something that was signed in 1949, national security, I think they said
the
that
National Security Act.
We can neither confirm nor deny.
That's right.
The information according to the 1949 Act, and you could show the document, it's national security or classified. We're not going to tell you.
Yeah, basically stonewalled
Flight record
for an entire block.
From the CIA, too. Why would we reach out to the CIA? That's kind of telling.
Yeah, of course it's telling.
I'm not a FOIA guy, right? I mean, I'm not seasoned, but everyone that I've shown that to, including like Chris Mellon, are highly dubious. Like, well, that's really odd.
Of course it's odd.
Yeah, right? Like,
of course it's odd.
Of course it's odd.
Of course, they landed without authorization in Brazil.
Yeah.
They're not going to admit to that.
Yeah.
Even if there was nothing to pick up, they're not going to admit to a random, plane landing unauthorized. Like that's just proof that they weren't supposed to be there. For whatever reason, they're not answering that.
Can't have a flight log?
Yeah, it just so happens
for a couple of weeks.
There was also talk of an alien running around and a ship crashing. Must be coincidental that they also don't want to answer questions about their flight log during that week. You know what you should do? You should FOIA request a month after and a month before.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Just to get them to be like, oh yeah, no, we were not there.
You know what I should do? I should get some of the members of Congress that I'm working with to do that with me.
FOIA request a bunch of random dates that year.
You know what?
Before and after.
If it came from a sitting member of Congress.
Yeah.
That would be a more effective way of doing it.
But even like, yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, of course.
Not coming from a civilian. This is coming from a sitting member of Congress.
Of course. But I mean, if these are USAPs, they're not going to, or even special access programs, they're not going to allow, anybody access. But
I did find out that where the bodies most likely went was on the East Coast, and that's as much information as I can get.
On the East Coast?
Yeah, the bodies went to the East Coast. East Coast, United States.
Do you think there was where was I looking at?
I found out somebody from the DIA told me that.
DIA?
That's what the individual said.
Ooh, interesting. That actually, that's pretty high conviction.
That it would go to the East Coast. And then the individual was like, that's as far as I'm going.
And Chris offers some really good suggestions here of the FOIA, right? Not just a specific date, but try putting, dates before, after, this, that, try a lot. And then James also like, hey, let me get Congress involved. Maybe that can help. Absolutely. The more the merrier, because again, there's a lot to this case and some answers would be nice, right? Again, there's just so many parts to this. Even if you dispel one part, there's so many other parts, right? It's like Jenga. You can pull a piece, but it's not going to fall down, right? You'd have to pull a lot of pieces for this to fall apart. And that is quite a lot to overcome. I mean, James really has done a great job over the last 15 years of putting this case together and staying with it, following it. It's not like he moved on. Pardon, my dog is over here just making a lot of noise, but it's just, he really stuck with this and put together a lot of pieces to this, right? That makes it really hard to dismiss once you see all of the, evidence. I mean, teach their own. Think whatever you want. If you don't believe it, no problem. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. To me, it just seems very, that this is very compelling and absolutely worth investigation. And you have to admire James's tenacity to stay with it and keep pushing and not give up on this. And it sounds like he's still not even giving up after this film, because there's still more to discover, as we'll learn later in this video as well. But finding out if America took, first sent a plane down there, right? Confirmation of that. And then what was on that plane, right? It is very interesting. And what's also interesting is this interview that Leslie Kean just did, okay, who is one of the journalists who put together the 2017 New York Times, article that came out, and then as well helping bring David Grush out publicly as well, right? She's very good friends with James Fox, and she's even she's interviewed in the documentary, right? But she had this to say on another podcast, which is kind of interesting when we're talking about these live beings, right? And what happened to them.
And so, if you can't argue with reports of a live non-human being, it's kind of kicking the whole thing up a notch. We're not just dealing with crashed technology. And yes, Grush and others have always made the connection between what we call biologics and crash retrievals. But what's interesting to me about the James Fox movie is it's something concrete that makes that connection, right? It's documented. It's not classified. It's a case in which there was a crash, and then there were live beings that were well documented, that were captured by the military, that were taken to hospitals, and eventually were taken away by the United States.
Yeah.
So it's an extremely well documented case. So I just love the fact that we may get, more attention on the sort of biologic side of this as a result of his film.
Yeah.
And other efforts that are going to be taking place around that. Which we'll see over the next few weeks. And just to say that I think what's important about the biologics is the argument can be made that release of information about the biologics is not a national security concern. These are studies that have been done on tissue or whatever, or bodies, right? You can't argue the way you can argue with technology that it affects national security. Obviously, we don't want the Russians and Chinese to understand the technology that we've reverse engineered or created, right?
Yeah, exactly. It could be weaponized or whatever.
Different. This is just a body that exists of a non-human being, and it is absolutely proof that we're not alone. And it's proof that is not a threat to national security.
Exactly. It's like the nut of the question, really. I mean, that's like sort of like in terms of, are we alone or are we not? I think that it goes right to the heart of it.
And the argument can be made in petitioning the government for, and once we can get it to a credible level, the biologics, one can make the argument that this should be revealed because the normal argument that's used, which is national security, doesn't apply here. So what is going to be the argument for withholding that information? And what I love about the Varginha case that James has documented is it's sort of a springboard into that level of inquiry, because it's a documented case of live living beings it takes it into that world, to me, as I see it, in a very credible way. And it might allow us to ask new kinds of questions regarding the release of biological information if we can't release technological information. Yeah. So I'm very fascinated by that as being sort of a possible unfolding narrative that'll happen over the next year. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm very interested in that. And there is going to be some interesting developments that will occur around that case over the next year. So,
okay, exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting to me. I think it's exciting. Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but it sounds like she's kind of hinting that potentially these beings could come out later this year or something, right? That's what it sounded like, right? I mean, that is the ultimate disclosure there, the beings. And she makes a good point out. It's not classified, it's not connected, But then again, if the government came and took it, they could classify it then, right? Or maybe these beings one of them is still down in Brazil. Maybe that's what she's getting at. And they're going to uncover that. I don't know. I don't think it's the video she's talking about, because there is this apparently multiple videos allegedly of this being filmed in different scenarios, because there's more than one being. There were several beings apparently. I don't know, just super interesting. I mean, as far as, again, there's just so many parts to this. It does get me excited. I spend so much time covering so many cases and so many people are just so full of shit. It's really nice and refreshing to come across a case that is very compelling, even if there's one part that may not be as compelling, right? Or whatever. Again, there's just so many pieces to this. So it is kind of exciting, I have to admit.
I'd also like to know how long that entity stayed alive.
Yeah.
And what kind of communication there was, because there was communication. And it was all done through the eyes. I'd like to know.
Which
I want to know so bad, Chris. You have no idea.
I understand. It brings us to Dr. Italo Venturelli.
Yes.
A hero.
Oh my God.
In my eyes, this man deserves a medal.
This guy's not retired and he's not doing it anonymously.
He's an absolute saint. He's the head surgeon at the Hospital Regional in
and he's still
Virginia.
There.
Yep. He is still there. He was the head of 3 hospitals, folks, right? This is no
So let me tell you how we got
slouch.
Let me tell you how we got to him.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sort of truncated version. Marco, my partner, Marco Leal, he has, I can't give away too much, but I need to give away just enough.
Sure, yeah.
Still protecting some of our sources.
Keep your sources.
Yes. So there's a couple of different hospitals, and I'm not going to name which one, but we have someone on the inside who's been meeting with us off the record, very discreetly, and saying, you need to go talk to this individual. You need to talk, why is that? Because they were shown some stuff. And So Marco has been like, okay, this is the individual. This is the doctor we need to talk to. We know that this doctor was shown video. We know this other doctor was shown video. So Marco's reaching out to these various doctors. And about a year ago, we had heard through another doctor, through our contact on the inside, working in this hospital, that Dr. Italo was shown the video. Okay. So Marco arranges a time where it was like, a Zoom call a little over a year ago with Dr. Italo, who's a neurosurgeon at Regional, like, hey, did you really see this video? And he admits, I don't even know if this was recorded. It probably was recorded. Knowing Marco, it was recorded, but I was on the other end of it, and he was a translator, and he confesses that there is a video and he did see it. So that was about a year ago. So this is kind of all ongoing. So then, fast forward about a year later, that individual is still on our target, is still like in our sights, right? But I really wanted to get the two forensic pathologists, particularly Dr. Giannini, because he was getting on in years, to talk about the bacteria that we could possibly incorporate in a new cut of moment of contact. And so we're doing these interviews with them at IPD. You can look up the acronym for that, but it's basically the two forensic pathologists. It's the company that did the analysis, the tissue sample analysis on the deceased military officer, as well as the doctor that did the autopsy on the deceased military officer, Marco Struzzi. So we're doing this interview, and it's all amazing. And they're saying some incredible stuff, and we're super excited. And we're like, hey, there's this other doctor. We're really trying to reach him. And that was Dr. Italo, and Dr. Armando, who did the autopsy on the deceased military officer. He goes, hey, yeah, hold on a second. Pulls his phone out. Hey, Dr. Italo, and they're speaking in Portuguese, and and then he goes, okay, hangs the phone up. Tomorrow morning,
wow,
go around to the back gate at Regional Hospital. He's going to meet you there at 10 o'clock, say 10 o'clock.
And so look, now we're going to get into a part that I covered quite extensively, which is this surgeon, okay, who had changed his testimony, right? And I made a couple of videos about him. I'm going to put links down below in the description, because I kind of pointed it out, and I did a follow-up when it was sort of explained potentially why he changed his mind, right? Basically the gist is this, is that the surgeon initially said he just saw a video of a being, right? And he couldn't even tell where it was, right? And then he started to say, he said, no, I saw the being live. And what we learned from James is apparently that happened in the moment, right? He thought up until the moment they're in the hospital, because that happens in the documentary, he gets invited to the hospital by this doctor. And even in the moment of being in the hospital with the doctor, he's still thinking they're talking about the video, right? But then the doctor's like, no, I saw with my own eyes. I telepathically communicated with it. So he's like, what's going on here, right? Like, it's all happening in the moment, which is kind of interesting, right? And they kind of say, that, they didn't talk about that in the documentary, and they don't talk about how he changed his mind, which I kind of wish they would have, but there is a small hint in the documentary. I actually took a picture of it where you can see this, screenshot of, them talking about, okay, so the video you saw, right, you could see the translation because it's all in Brasileño, which people keep calling it Portuguese. It's different. It's Brasileño. Portuguese is from Portugal. Whatever. It's kind of the same thing. It's like British, and American English, right? Like, there are differences.
The next morning, we all get in the car, cameras rolling, sound guy, let's roll. We go to the back gate, the back entry point, not the front, the back. And it was like, that's kind of odd. We didn't know exactly what was happening. And that's when he walks out in his full
scrubs.
Yeah, he's working he's working. And he sneaks us in the back. And he's sneaking us down these long corridors, and I'm talking to the camera.
What are you thinking? Like, where are we going? What is he showing us?
I'm totally thinking that.
Because you think this guy's only seen video.
Exactly. So he's with us down there, and we don't really know what's happening. Now, unbeknownst to our whole team, since the year before meeting where we confronted him on did he see the video, he had a heart attack. He went into the ICU. He was staring at the ceiling. His partner, that was also a neurosurgeon at Regional Hospital, Marcos Vinicius, he had a heart attack in 2018 and died. And so he was apparently staring at the ceiling in the ICU thinking, shit, I'm going to take this to the grave, just like my partner. Like, then on top of that, so he was like, if I recover, I think I'm going to go public. Then on top of that, he got cancer. I think he got prostate cancer. He's been recovering from that as well. So I think he was just like still working at the hospital.
I had a wake-up call.
And he was like, for the sake of my grandchildren, future generations, I'm not going to take this to the grave. So he sneaks us in, and I have no idea what's going on. Everything's happening rather quickly, right? So I'm told that I got to put on these scrubs. I got to put on a mask. I got to put on a hat because you can't enter ICU without that. You have to have all that gear on. So I'm putting everything on.
Sterile environment.
What's going on? Like, what's happening? What's I'm just, okay. I'm just doing what I'm told. Sound guy, camera guy, Marco's there, Alini's there, translator, and takes us into the ICU. Then he starts talking about, this is where I saw the video. It was in this bed. And then he was just like, yeah, the ET was right here in this bed, right here in this room. I'm like, wait a minute. The video, the ET, what? And then it all comes out. Like, yeah, I was here that night. Marcos Vinicius is the one that performed the procedure. I was in this room with ET. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is all unraveling all on camera. It's happening, where he was just saying, I don't care what the consequences are. I don't care anymore. I'm old enough. I'm seasoned enough. I'm important enough. Fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm coming forward. And he's doing it. And then we're filming. I'm just shocked. The whole thing is just like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this development is one of the biggest, if true, it's the biggest, most significant development in the history of the phenomenon, because I challenge anyone out there to show me testimony from anyone, particularly a neurosurgeon.
An active neurosurgeon, not
retired, who's putting his entire career on the line to say, I had face-to-face contact, telepathic communication for 3 to 4 minutes with an alien in captivity. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't think of another case. This is a first.
And look, I was definitely very skeptical about this guy changing his tune. It's like, what's going on here, right? Only because it just wasn't being addressed. But clearly this got addressed in this video because Chris Ramsey addressed it at the very beginning of the interview, and he had this to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into today's video, I want to introduce an exclusive clip that we've been given courtesy of James Fox. This clip features Dr. Italo Venturelli, who was the neurosurgeon who actually telepathically communicated with this being as it was lying in the hospital bed. I also want to say that this was not abundantly clear in James's documentary, but many people have addressed this online afterwards, that Italo had in fact kind of changed his story, where initially he said he'd seen a video of the being, and now he says that he was in the room with the being. The reason for that, from what I understand, is that he did not want to thrust himself into the limelight. Many people working at that same hospital obviously felt the same by keeping their privacy and anonymity. They would remove themselves from any potential harm to their career or to their lives. After suffering a near-fatal heart attack and also losing his partner, earlier, Italo had a change of heart in that moment and decided to come clean on what exactly he saw. Now, he puts his reputation on the line as a neurosurgeon. He is someone you would trust to operate on your brain for 13 hours straight. And as we find out later in our interview, was actually fired due to his earlier comments prior to the release of this documentary. And they have since reinstated his position because the hospital couldn't function to its fullest capacity without him. So if you're thinking that he is not fit to be a doctor because of these claims, you are sorely mistaken. He is still a practicing brain surgeon. I will let the video play for itself in its original language to convey both his emphasis, his cadence, and his genuine message.
And so I guess it just turns out that the doctor, again, I've already kind of covered this, but, Chris Ramsey reiterating it, I can understand a lot of that, right? And I can understand the doctor changing his tune, right? It does explain a lot. There's still a part of me that's like, I don't know how much I believe this doctor, even though everyone's like, he's the most credible. It doesn't ruin the case for me at all, to be honest with you, like at all. But there's still something off about this doctor to me. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Probably gonna get a lot of hate in the comments. That's fine. I'm always gonna be real with y'all of how I feel. It's just how it is. But here's this exclusive message from this doctor.
Please enjoy this message from Dr. Italo Venturelli.
Meu nome é Ítalo Denelli Venturelli. Eu juro que o que eu vou dizer para vocês é verdade, nada mais do que a verdade. Sou médico há 46 anos e em 1996, no dia 20 de janeiro, eu fui chamado para ver um paciente, né? E quando eu fui ver, não era um ser do nosso planeta, né? Que fui chamado eventualmente para dar minha opinião sobre o caso e eu vi o caso sob o ponto de vista médico. Consciente, sem dor, sem sangramento, respirando bem, muito calmo, muito tranquilo, parecia uma criança de uns 7 anos, branquinho, não tinha mau cheiro, a cabecinha grande, mas em forma de gota, né? Boca pequenininha, uma das mãos estava dentro de um campo e outra para fora. O olho não era vermelho, estava lilás, também em forma de gota, e me olhou de uma maneira muito tranquila, não estava agitado, não estava agressivo, não estava com dor, e na minha opinião não estava com medo também. Na minha opinião, estava entendendo o que estava acontecendo ali. É um olhar muito bonito de ver, um olhar assim sem julgamento, né? 2 vezes ele olhou para mim, olhou para a janela, olhou para mim outra vez. Eu senti assim, eu fiquei próximo dele, né? 1,5 metro, assim, não toquei nele, mas eu fiquei próximo. E a maneira de olhar é uma maneira assim que ele parece que era uma inteligência maior do que a nossa, do que a humana, né? Que ele estava entendendo, apesar de ele estar assim numa situação de defesa, ele não estava com medo, ele estava entendendo o que estava acontecendo, né? Possivelmente deveria ter algum propósito, alguma coisa para estar fazendo o que ele estava fazendo. E a verdade é que eu sou testemunha ocular, eu vi o ser sim. Podem falar o que for, brincam, zombam, falam uma porção de coisas, mas eu vi ali, deitado na minha frente. É importante as pessoas saberem que não estamos falando de dinheiro, estamos falando de uma coisa que muda o conceito da humanidade, né? Que é um ser de um outro local. Eu fui lá, não fui procurar, eu fui lá por um acaso, ver um outro paciente e eu vi. Então eu acho importante as pessoas saberem que sim, quem fala que viu, quem viu espaçonave, viu, nós vimos mesmo. E não é fácil ficar aqui na frente da câmera falando sobre isso. Que perguntam, parece que a gente está mentindo, você tem que insistir. Já jurei que vi mesmo e vi, né? Que os seres mais novos acreditem que existe sim.
So there you go, in his own words. And he does seem genuine, but again, something just seems off. And I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest with you. I still think he's this Dr. X that called into this Brazilian podcast show. That's in one of my videos that I made. And I think he has the video and had shown the video and I don't know. I just think there's something off there. I don't know what it is. But who cares what I think, right? The case is still very, very, very compelling.
So Military X got a phone call and it was from the base. And they said, "Hey, how you doing? So-and-so." And yeah, family doing good? Oh, good. You still living at this address? Excellent. Okay, good. Hey, there's an American filmmaker poking around, and we had just gotten him on camera. There's an American filmmaker poking around. By chance meet with him? Okay, good. Yeah, excellent. Well, listen, you take care, and glad the family's doing well. Happy to hear you're still living at the same address. You take care now.
Wow.
And then summoned the individual that we were going to meet into the base. So that individual that we were going to meet with the next day, my point is this, Had I waited till Tuesday or Wednesday, we would have never got that interview.
No, you guys were chasing the same leads.
We were chasing, and had I had 24 more hours, we probably would have seen the footage. Dude, you have no idea. Like, it's like a bar of soap in the bathtub. You grab it. And I say to anybody out there who's feeling frustrated because they want to see the footage, there's nobody on the planet Earth that wants that more than I do. And there's nothing that I'm not trying to get my hands on it. And I just feel like at this point, if anybody's out there in possession of this footage, post it anonymously, put it out there for free. I don't care who it comes from, where it comes from. Like, well, of course I don't want it to be fake, but
yeah. Speaking of which, there is a video circulating that claims to be
everything I've seen
the
is
real
fake.
being. That's completely fake. Do not send James that footage.
Yeah, I will. What I would do is, if I get the video for free, I'm going to give it away for free. I'm not going to charge anything for it. If I have to purchase the video to recoup, to pay whoever back, I would figure that out. But I would give it away for free. Okay, I'm not trying to make money on this video.
Yeah,
I'd like the world to see it. I think the world should see it.
Yep.
I would have all the firsthand eyewitnesses take a look at it first. Hey, is this what you saw? Does this look real? Do we know the provenance of this? Like, that would do the best one can, right?
Yeah, and it's out there.
And there are multiple videos
and
out
photos
there. And the reason why I know that is because I've talked to people that have seen it, the photographs. I actually talked to the chief of police, Marco Leal, and I went and doorstepped him not too long ago. And he admits on camera, he's like, oh yeah, there are multiple photos. Because, the fire department, who's also part of the military, the police department is also part of the military.
Yeah.
My understanding is they took photos.
They captured one.
Took photos. They captured one. The doctors in both hospitals, Humanitas and Regional Hospital, took video. They had cameras. For instance, there was specific surgery that they would do, brain surgery, and they would videotape these procedures.
Yeah.
So the doctors had cameras readily available at the hospitals to record various procedures. They also had resources to have that. Then the military shot video.
Mm-hmm.
People so the military got video. I'm sure the Americans got video. The fire department, the police department, and the doctors all got photos and or videos. How do I know that? Because I've talked to people that have seen it, multiple different sources, civilians, doctors, military that have seen the videos. So we know there's at least 5 different sources of video and photographic evidence of this. It's just a matter of us getting our sticky little fingers on it.
So again, there's allegedly just a lot of different videos that of these creatures, right? These beings. And, I remember the end of Moment of Contact, that's like a big thing. It's like, we're trying to get, this video. At that point, it was just like one video. And I remember interviewing James Fox on my other podcast, Lone Star Plate, and that's what he talked about, right? Like this, trying to get the video from Moment of Contact, right? From this case. But apparently there's a lot of videos, potentially photos, all kinds of stuff that they're trying to get their hands on. And yes, other videos have been spread online allegedly of the Varginha. And Chris showed one example of a fake video that's being spread around. But there's also another one going around that people are wondering about. Check out what this guy tweeted out with this video. Real alien footage, Varginha UFO incident, filmed by the ESA, which is a Brazilian army unit based in Varginha. James Fox has confirmed there are multiple different videos in existence. Could this one be legit or more likely a hoax? Well, let me show it to you because it's definitely a hoax if you ask me. Yeah, I don't believe that video whatsoever. But, whatever. People are going to believe that, right? It's just along with the other one. So hopefully this stuff comes out. I mean, basically, there's still videos to come out of this, potentially photos and beings, biologics. I don't know what Leslie King was talking about, right? I don't know. And the information about the United States Air Force, right? But again, this is a very, very compelling case. And this is an amazing interview that Chris Ramsey did, of course, with James Fox, right? He always crushes it. He's like Babe Ruth out there, just calling the home runs, Chris Ramsey is. I highly recommend checking it out. And I highly recommend checking out this documentary, what this is all about. You're really, really going to enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed watching the documentary. Even if you've seen Moment of Contact, I highly recommend watching this because there is new revelations in there. And just to refresh your memory, if it's been a while since you've seen Moment of Contact, right? It kind of brings it all together, right? So again, links down below to go rent the movie. Let's support James in this investigation of this case. These are the kind of things we should be looking into and supporting. And if it's true, this is amazing, right? What an amazing case with so many moving parts. I just don't know how you dispel this, right? I just don't know how this case goes away, if you ask me. So again, thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Remember that every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
Hey, Warren Wortham here from Waterloo, Iowa. Second time calling. I think I was one of the first people that you played when you started the service. But anyway, real quick, watching your video about Chris Bledsoe, the interesting thing about that orb video or picture he put out with the supposed date in it, it looks like it says 03 and then 2 other digits. And if you were to really guess what the other 2 digits were, it would actually look like 20. So 320, I guess, is what he's trying to say it meant. But the interesting thing is, why are these things communicating in like digital numerical ways? I don't know. I'm not saying Chris Bledsoe is a charlatan or anything. If anything, he may be an honest guy that's just being misled by either our own government, kind of like what the one guy did to the one gentleman that drove him crazy. Is it Doty or whatever that drove the one guy crazy? Or maybe it could be like the Bible says, where there's evil entities or spirits that are misleading him deliberately. So who knows? But anyway, have a wonderful time. I hope you get better soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.